Libyan authorities are investigating the killing of the most prominent son of late Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, Saif al-Islam Gaddafi. His lawyer says he was killed by an unidentified four-man commando who stormed his house yesterday. The 53-year-old was seen as his father's successor, who had ruled for more than 4 decades before he was overthrown and killed in an uprising in 2011. In 2021, Saif al-Islam registered as a presidential candidate, but elections were never held. All right, international relations expert Thembisa Fakude joins us now to talk to us about this story. Thank you very much for your time this evening. This, is seen as a powerful and controversial figure, but also he was seen as Muammar Gaddafi's political heir. Let's talk about, the significance of this moment.
Well, the life of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi did not start in 2011, as many people would like to believe. He had a very colorful lifestyle before 2011, a feared figure in Libya. They used to basically do as they please during the reign of their father. And during the time, he created a lot of enemies. And when he was eventually captured and sentenced to death, and of course he was released because of the amnesty that was given to him. But during that tenure of his father, he created a lot of problems, killing people, jailing people, forcing a lot of people into exile. So he had a very colorful life, but at the same time, he had a lot of enemies in Libya who would have loved to see him dead.
Yeah, and some would say, this particular moment comes as no surprise to them.
Of course, it comes as no surprise. He had ambitions of coming back into politics and contesting politics in Libya. But the Gaddafi family remained very unpopular and hated by many people in Libya. They plundered resources and, as I've said, suppressed and jailed and tortured thousands of people. Of course, Muammar Gaddafi was regarded as a brother leader outside Libya. But if you go to Libya, he was detested by his own people because he used to jail, kill, and force thousands of people into exile in Libya. So Saif al-Islam was his father's henchman. He did his father's dirty work in most instances. But outside his father's ambit, he was a law unto himself who went on to do as he pleases. But by the way, he was also known to be a very popular playboy in Europe, where he had a stint. He studied a bit in the London School of Economics, but he spent a lot of time in Europe having extravagant parties, and he was known to be one of those extravagant playboys in Europe, whilst at home he continued with oppressing his own people.
Yeah, you speak about how he was also known for, crimes against humanity, but he also faced allegations of, war crimes, and some may say his death means that he may never face trial or even be held accountable.
Yeah, of course, he'll never face trial. Not only him, by the way, he's got brothers. His brothers were also part and parcel of this problem. So he was given amnesty in a spirit of trying to encourage and promote reconciliation in Libya, which was fractured by certain factions who wanted to separate Libya. We have Khalifa al-Haftar, for example, one of the strongmen in Libya who wanted to control part of Libya. So in that spirit of trying to reconcile Libya, he was given amnesty, and he had ambitions of being a politician and leading Libya, but he still faced those crimes. And although he had charges against him at the ICC, he never went to The Hague to face the music and the justice for crimes that he committed. And in Libya, continued to lead a normal life of extravagance. And as you correctly put it, you'll never see, or the people that he committed crimes against will never get justice because of what happened to him yesterday.
Let's talk about what this means for Libya, the country, right? Well, some analysts are already suggesting that his death may destabilize an already fragile country. Do you share the same sentiment?
No. He was not a popular figure that would have or could have triggered any form of protest or instability. As I've said, he resorted into some small little corner of Libya where he was surrounded by bodyguards 24 hours because, as I've said, he was hated by a large number of Libyans, particularly in the capital Tripoli. So I don't agree that he would have, his death will result into any form of instability in Libya because, as I've said, he was not a very liked figure, nor does he enjoy popular support within the country.
And his death, what does it mean for the rest of the continent, right? You say, it really does not have a major impact, but this is certainly a story that has captured, international headlines. But obviously South Africa, through the African Union, has repeatedly called for African-led solutions in Libya. And like you say, this is one figure that was seen as a controversial, but also seen as divisive.
Well, if you go to Libya, they'll tell you a different story. There are a lot of Libyans who are not really having sleepless nights because of the death of Saif al-Islam Gaddafi today. Most of them are happy because of, as I've said, the crimes that he continued or he committed during his father's tenure and in 2011 when the Arab Spring in Libya was crushed and suppressed, amongst others. And amongst others, it was Saif al-Islam who led that the pushback of protesters, not only in Tripoli, but in other cities in Libya. So yes, I think it's not a good political precedence that Africa continues to solve its political problems in this manner. But Libya remains extremely volatile. It's a lot of armed factions that have got historical scores to settle. And Saif Islam knew that his time was coming. This is why he was heavily guarded. And I think it's an exception in terms of what we would like to see or expect from the African politics. Libya at the moment still, as I said, trying to settle scores, and a lot of factions and people were disgruntled in the past, and some of whose families were killed, etc., by the likes of Saif al-Islam. So it's one part of history that I think will soon be forgotten. Was buried today, and I think moving on, I don't think there's going to be any instability in Libya moving forward.
And I mean, what's next to watch? You say there will be no significant change in Libya. Should the world be looking at how his death will be handled, or even the investigations that will unfold from his death, rather?
Well, I don't think there'll be any investigations, not in Libya. What is happening at the moment, of course, in Libya is that you've got one other strongman called Khalifa al-Haftar, who's a warlord sponsored by United Arab Emirates to create instability and havoc in Libya. He continues to call himself a leader in Libya, and he doesn't want to participate in normal traditional politics of that country. He is the problem. So you've got these two players at the moment in Libya who many would like to see dealt with. One is the United Arab Emirates that continues not only in Libya, but in other countries in Africa, including Sudan and Palestine and other places. United Arab Emirates seem to be involved in all of these countries and creating problems. But this Khalifa al-Haftar, who was a strong man who worked very close with Muammar Gaddafi, continues also to create instability and renders other cities and territories in Libya's no-go area. And I think until you solve that problem of Khalifa al-Haftar, we are likely to continue with the status quo in Libya, which is at the moment not totally controlled by the current government in Tripoli.
Thembisa Fakude is International Relations Expert, Director and Senior Research Fellow of Africa-Asia Dialogues. Thank you very much for your time this evening.